A lot of episodes. A lot of episodes. 41. How does that go?
Man, it goes with consistency.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Here on episode 41 of the Block podcast, the best podcast in the world for all things Web3. Here we break down the technology, what's going on in the market, and the ways in which you can benefit. I am NFT and Jai,
And I am Web3 Wayne.
and over here the talk is different.
Always. Always. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, so different. I almost forgot. We gotta start with the disclaimer. I was just so ready to get into the episode, get to the meat and the bones. But as y'all know, we gotta always start it off with letting you know that this podcast is for general information purposes only. By no means will we be responsible if you lose your cheese, cheddar, mozzarella, provolone. So please consult a financial advisor or any other professional financial expert. But just remember, this podcast is not financial advice. It is only informational purposes. And with that, let's get into it.
Let's get to it, man. Crazy month, extremely busy month, but busy in a great way. We've been doing a lot of events, and well, actually, today's the first day of June, and we closed out May with two stellar events. One being last week, as you all saw, we was down in Atlanta for our street food event with Zeke of Streetwear Connections over at the Gathering Spot in Atlanta. Fire.
Great event. Great event, man. Great turnout. Bless you. Great turnout. Great people there. Great conversation with Zeke. It's always, great being able to have great conversations with people that's out here doing it. And it was dope to be able to have that conversation in front of our good people out in TGS Atlanta. And of course, Atlanta was dope as well. Great experience out there. So excited to have that event, have our first taste of doing something out in the A. That was really dope, man. That was really dope.
Absolutely. It was actually my first time in the A. And
Okay. Yeah.
shout out to Atlanta, man. You guys know how to have a good time. When I was in the airport, everybody had on their designer. They had on their jewelry, dudes with the necklaces, the bust down watches. I was like, okay.
It's a fashion show in Atlanta, man.
It's a
That's
fashion show. It's a
yeah,
fashion show,
man.
which is
I
why
ain't mad at it.
we had to come in hot, man. We had on the drip for like the street food event, which you can see if you visit our Instagram at Breathing Global, or if you subscribe to the newsletter. But overall, I echo your same sentiments. It was an extraordinary conversation that we had with Zeke, in which he just talked about his entire entrepreneurial journey, right? And for me, it was great just to see it in the macro, because I remember like having conversations with Zeke, when he first got his job at a huge accounting firm, and then talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing this and that and that, the third for my job too. Yeah, I'm about to quit my job." I was like, "Oh, word!" Like to like see him go through that to where he is
Yeah.
now, the streetwear connections with having the multiple storefronts across the nation, making a huge impact within the community and
Yeah.
working with us so he can be a partner within the Timbucktoo ecosystem. It was such an incredible journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And really my big takeaway from having that conversation with him is, listen, you're an entrepreneur. First thing you need to go find is an accountant. That is probably the number one thing um, that you need to do as an entrepreneur, is find somebody that'll make sure your money is straight, and of course that at the end of the year them taxes are due too. So really dope conversation. I didn't know he had an accounting degree, so that was cool to learn a little bit more about him. So yeah.
Yep. Shout out to Kent State University, and shout out to everybody from CBA. That was the business association we was a part of. But
Okay,
yeah,
okay. Shout out.
shout out to the fam. But another key lesson that I've learned, like in just listening to Zeke, you talked about, he had, finding an accountant to work with you and how that was his background. But one thing that really struck me was the fact that, like, Zeke is this founder of, like, essentially this fashion brand, right? And he admits, like, his own words, like, he's not an autistic person, and he's not, like, he says he doesn't know how to dress, right? And yet more he's built out this brand that's like really impactful, making these lines in terms of fashion. And the key way he's doing this is because, all right, one, he has, even though he doesn't have those skill sets, he has a passion for shoes and sneakers, right? That's what
Yeah,
he has an eye for. Two,
yeah,
just the relationships. He has a partner, multiple partners who's able to help him from, like, the stylist standpoint, who's able to help when it comes to product designs and just all those things. And it,
yep,
it just reminded me, like, okay, you don't need to be this perfect founder who's knows everything or is able to do everything within your particular niche. Like, yes, have your one or two skill sets that you can master, but just really the relationships from everyone else that complements you, that allows you to really grow and expand your venture. So that was like key lesson.
absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And if you haven't, go check out our last episode. We had Zeke on there. He blessed us for the episode, so you can see a little bit of his collection in there. He gave a little bit background on who he was and a little preview into that conversation that we had later that day at TGS. So definitely go check out that last episode, episode 40. You catch Zeke as our special guest on that episode.
And when you're checking out the episode, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share it out with all your loved ones.
Yes.
It does wonders for the show. But shout out to Zeke, shout out to the A, shout out to everyone who was involved in making the street food event a huge success. But wait, there's more. You know, we're going back outside, y'all. We got
Okay.
we got two more events coming up in June.
So do.
And once again, we're taking this show on the road on June the 16th over in Cleveland. We're partnering with the Deep Roots Gallery to have the Print Shop Expo, in which we're partnering with a showcase of roughly 20 artists local to the Cleveland area who has, like, just a variety of very unique, breathtaking artwork in the form of prints. Half of these artists will be actually partnering with us and be set up on the Timbucktoo platform to pair their NFTs with their artwork. So it's going to be a dope show. Shout out to Dave Ramsey, the founder of Deep Roots Gallery. Shout out to everybody who's been working with us in terms of the artists, and shout out to everybody in Cleveland. That's going to be fire. June the 16th. Eventbrite will be in the description below.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's going to be a great one. We're excited for that event out in Cleveland. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention our other event, Simply New Orleans, a Mr. Out the Frame experience, June 29th down in New Orleans, Louisiana, my hometown. I'm excited for this one. We're doing another art show with the guy who really kicked it off for us, Patrick Henry, going down to his home turf excuse me, and putting on a show down there, in downtown New Orleans at Canal Place. And it's going to be a dope pre-Essence event. Essence is that following weekend. So if you're in town for Essence, definitely come hang out with us, come check us out, and come experience some dope art. That's June 29th, Simply New Orleans event. As Mamadou mentioned, make sure you can check us out and stay up to date. Stay tuned with what we got going on at Relink Global. But I'm excited, man. We got two dope events coming up in June. Crazy events.
Two dope events. And shout out to Patrick Henry. We have a video on our YouTube channel in which we did a showcase with him back in October in DC.
Yep.
So it's great to, like, really go on the road and just expand your horizons. Through this journey, like, one of the things I realized is, if you're a founder, if you're really trying to grow your brand, try to make something impactful, you have to be outside. So being outside when it comes to your local area, building up your name, your recognition there. And two, you have to go on the road. You can't
Mm,
you can't stay in your own location. The world is
yeah,
too big. And you'll probably find even greater support when you travel outside of your locality, right? Because
absolutely.
that's when people eyes and ears perk up like, oh, you're from such and such. Like you could
Yeah,
be from DC, but you did a show or a situation out in New York, and people are just going to be so impressed that you took the effort to better yourself and to go to these different markets. So that's a
absolutely.
huge gem for everybody. Some free game. Go outside, be outside. The relationships you make are great. It gives you a sense of the different cultures and flavors and attitudes of different markets, which in turn helps you craft like that perfect marketing strategy. So yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think that's what kicked it off for us last year, man. We started getting outside a little bit, going to these conferences, and started, networking, right? Connected with
mhm.
people. You don't have to be a networking expert or, super networker. One or two conversations can really, change your life and move your business in the right way. And it may not always be a conversation around money, but it may be, some quick advice that might change your mindset or shift your perspective that might take you a long way. So got to get outside. I love that takeaway.
Love it, love it. But enough of all that. We know what you're here for. You guys want the Web3 news for the week, what's going
Yes.
on. And so, with that, we have Web3 Wayne with the quick take.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And this week we want to bring you guys a really dope quick take. Since we are a platform that is combining the world of Web3 using NFTs and AI technology, we saw this article and thought it would be interesting for you guys. So Solana is launching a ChatGPT plugin to help users interact with its network. I should say launches. So it's already launched and out there in the market. But the Solana Foundation, the nonprofit behind Solana, officially integrated AI into its network with the Chat GPT plugin developed by Solana Labs. So this plugin was teased out last April, and it has an initial focus on end users. So users will be able to buy and list NFTs, transfer tokens, check out transactions, interpret data, and find NFT collections by floor price. So they are plugging ChatGPT into an RPC node that will read data from multiple sources on chain and disseminate info to the prompter. So the internal, for you guys to kind of know, our RPC node is a remote procedure call. It is a type of computer server that allows users to read data on the blockchain and send transactions to different networks. So the initial focus will be on NFTs, which is promising because they had 58 million in sales volume just last month. And developers are excited to use AI in a variety of ways, such as using it to find ways to improve the end user experience, right? Something that's really big in terms of being a turning point for Web3 and getting more people to actually use the technology. And of course, buy NFTs, right? This is really a larger part of the foundation strategy to integrate both Web3 and AI. They just announced an AI focused accelerator program for university level students this past April and grew their Solana grant from 1 million to 10 million to focus on AI projects that are on the Solana blockchain. There's a lot of activity when it comes to Solana and the intersection between Web3 and AI. And again, we want to bring this to you guys due to the way that we ourselves are integrating both Web3, NFT technology, and AI. And that's really our quick take for today. Thoughts.
Fire, fire, fire. Really fire segment. It's it's really important. I think we said this before when we spoke about AI on the platform. but you can't think about these technologies in silos, right? Web3 technology is innovative, is revolutionary, and will like really impact industries. However, it can't just do it on its own. It has to be integrated with all these other technologies, right? Whether that's your augmented reality, your virtual reality, and really what we've been seeing a lot more of in terms of these stories is AI, right? It's no secret that with the advent of ChatGPT, we're seeing all these different generative AI models come out, and like there's a huge AI craze that's happening in the market right now. But just because there's a new trend or a new excitement, if you will, that doesn't mean the previous technologies from the previous news cycles are going away. What's going to
Hmm.
happen is these companies are going to, innovate, adapt, and merge together these technologies. So I think like this story is very interesting because it just highlights how this is going to be the trend that we start to see. We're going to start to see a lot more Web3 organizations and companies and ideas
Yeah.
find ways to integrate AI into their platforms.
Mm. No, yeah, I think that that makes a lot of sense. I mean, and another point to that is that AI is going to be in so many different parts of it, right? Like they're using it, AI, this Chat GPT plugin as a tool to really, improve the user experience when it comes to interacting with the blockchain. But we'll also see it on the back end as well, right? Like there's a reason that, people are starting to talk about prompt engineers and the importance there. Like Chat GPT and these AI technologies can be used to create code and possibly create products, right? And speed up that time of delivery, which may solve a lot of problems when it comes to Web3. I think the big hurdle is some of the development side. There's a lot of things that need to be built out. And as things, as people are building, as these things come out, AI will really help to get those things out to the market quicker, right? If you're using it in that kind of prompt engineer, developer type of um, aspect. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see how AI, really props up Web3 and the integration of Web3. I really think AI and Web3 are going to go hand in hand in terms of, um, just its reach and potential, right? Like they're going to be kind of in lock and step. As we see AI grow, we're going to see Web3 grow. As we see Web3 grow, we'll see AI grow. But we'll definitely be keeping an eye out on more, AI and Web3 related news and keep bringing you guys more stories around that.
The last thing I'll say about that segment, though, because it is important to bring it up, you know, we saw how Solana Foundation or Solana has launched an AI accelerator, right? You know,
Yep,
they're it's more than just a plugin, right? They're putting money behind this, and they essentially have an accelerator to fund ventures or startups who are building these AI projects on the Solana blockchain, right?
yep, yep.
So don't be surprised if you start to see other blockchain networks like an Ethereum, a Cardano, Venom Foundation, or whoever do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely, absolutely. Great point there.
Yeah, definitely a great point. A lot of innovation is really occurring, you know, from these blockchain networks to these global regions, which is why we have to bring you this next story that's pretty major. The municipality of Beijing has decided to create and launch a white paper that talks about its overall strategy or policy framework for Web3. So pretty major, right? We've been talking a lot about how just Hong Kong has been a huge player when it comes into Web3 within the Asian region, but the local government of Beijing is not too far behind. So
Mm,
recently at a forum, which was the Beijing Municipality Science and Technology Commission, they they launched a paper called Web3 Innovation and Development White Paper. And at this forum, they talked about how they recognize that Web3 as an industry has huge implications for the advancement of technology and the future of just the internet development in general. And as such, they want to allocate at least 100 million won, or the equivalent of $14 million annually until 2025, to establish itself as a global innovation hub for the digital economy, right? And really, Beijing, and when we say Beijing, oftentimes we think about, oh, the overall government of China. We're talking about the local municipality, right? They are intended on just implementing policies to really foster growth in the Web3 industry. And this is really great news because it coincides with Hong Kong's recent implementation of their new cryptocurrency regulations. Starting today, on June 1st, the SEC of Hong Kong announced that retail investors, your everyday normal investors, can engage in crypto trading, right? And this is instrumental because back in 2021, the government of China banned the use of cryptocurrencies. So, with this attitude of what's happening in Hong Kong with allowing for crypto trading, and with Beijing saying, hey, here's our white paper, here's our strategy, and here's the money to back this up, we're starting to see a more softer or more proponent approach towards Web3 over there in China. And so, the municipality of Beijing, they consider AI, virtual reality, NFTs, and metaverse all as the crux of Web3. And as such, they are very interested in really moving forward and becoming that global hub for Web3. So, a lot of great impactful stuff right here. I guess the big
Yeah.
question is, how do we feel about this move by the municipality of Beijing? Is this a right step? Is this a step in the right direction? What do you think, Web3 Wayne?
I would have to say yes. I think a lot of times uh, the change starts when when you have these local governments that are starting to really say, hey, let's start to carve out some space, whether that's in the budget or just space in general, right? They've identified specific districts that they want to build out and things like that in the white paper, and where in Beijing they actually want to kind of have, like, this is going to be the Web3 space of Beijing. So I think this is a great move by Beijing and their government. I think it's very interesting that this white paper is coming out, uh, you know, right around the same time that Hong Kong is going live with their retail investment. I'm sure that's gonna really help in terms of the price of crypto. You're going from basically, I believe Hong Kong has like 7 million people, something like that in Hong Kong. So that's 7 million people that could potentially, invest in crypto, where before it was only institutional investors that could invest in crypto. And so that seems like it's another step towards China as a whole being more receptive to crypto trading and crypto investment. So it'll be interesting to see that. And then, another thing that I like about this is, Beijing is not just looking at, the crypto sphere of it, right? They're saying these other technologies, the AI, the VR, the NFTs, the metaverse, that's really, going to be the meat and potatoes of Web3. So I think it's interesting the approach that China is taking. I think it's what we're going to see from a lot of places is where the focus is going to be more on those technologies that um, are a bit more functional, right? Versus the crypto, which is more just currency based, right? And price based. So I think this is a major move. I feel good about it. I think it spells something good for the larger crypto Web3 space. How do you feel? What's your thoughts on it?
I 100% agree with you, right? It's always important. A top-down approach is important, right? You need that leadership from like that federal, national level. However, that boots on the ground, those local governments have a huge impact on really just the success of policy in general, right? And Beijing is not just any city in China. It's the capital, right? Like it's the capital of China. So
Yeah,
that's like the equivalent of Washington D.C., right? Posting out a white paper and talking about how they want to invest X millions of dollars each year towards fostering a great hub, right? To be a global hub for innovation within this digital economy. This is
yeah,
huge, right? And
yeah,
then, you know, in terms of like the population as well, like you're right, Hong Kong has a population of 7.4 million people, slightly smaller than New York at like 8.6 million. Beijing, on the other hand, has a population of 21.5 million individuals, million citizens. So to that's a lot. That's a huge market opportunity right there. If we can have
yeah,
citizens, using these Web3 technologies from like your NFTs, your metaverse, your cryptocurrencies on and it becomes a part of that everyday life,
yeah,
it just presents a lot of opportunity. And so I think from an overall standpoint, this is like great news for the municipality of Beijing and definitely the right move moving forward.
for sure. Couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more. And you know, you never know. Like I said, it's a good trend. I think it's like it's important to note that, and we've kind of talked about it, right? China really has like this kind of um, one country, two policy, type of deal where like Hong Kong is really a little bit separate from mainland China, and how they operate. So they give them a little bit more freedom, to do things and be a little bit more experimental, if you will. So with Hong Kong, that's not really going to tell you what's going to happen with China, right? But when you see a city
Mm.
like Beijing, like you said, that's the capital. That's where all the major players are staying, right?
Mainland.
In terms of politically, um, that means a lot. That means a lot. So it really seems like um, China and Hong Kong are not too far from each other, right? They're kind of in lock and step, and they're it's I think things are trending in the right direction. So I'm happy about that for sure.
So here's my question for you, right? If mainland China is trending in step with like Hong Kong, right, in terms of having a positive attitude towards Web3, putting in capital, resources, and much more towards building out these ecosystems, how does that play in terms of China, in terms of like the economic prowess, in terms of being a major player in like Web3?
I think it'll have pretty big implications, and I say that because when we see like that story that we're talking about, this white paper, right, come out, and the Beijing government is talking about dedicating resources to building out of it. um that really then starts to spur, like, this is government money we're talking about, right? So that's probably going to get put
Mhm.
into research, right? That's going to go to universities and help to prop up the most promising businesses, and prop up new ideas, and help those form. So I think it's big when you talk about the innovation side of it, the execution side of it. I think it makes for really taking advantage of this new industry that's coming about. We talk about Web3 and the opportunities there. It definitely puts them in a great position. Again, at least in front of the U.S. maybe, right, with the U.S. kind of having their approach to it thus far. I could definitely see it helping China. I wouldn't move them up on our list if you haven't watched a couple episodes ago. We gave some that was the last episode of season 2, right? Yep,
Yep.
last episode is
Episode
yep.
39.
We talked about our list of which countries / regions do we think are going to be um, the top players in Web3, and I think this definitely moves China closer to 3, mainland China. But I do think that um, there is something to be said about, like, once US does get things together. I think the really lax business policies will really help to like push and bring the US back in the lead when it comes to the Web3 space, right? Like right now, they're loosening up on Hong Kong, or Hong Kong is loosening up on like the crypto trading, but how long does that last, right? You kind of don't necessarily know how China will react to um, the loosening. How the citizens will react, how that technology gets used, and there may be a change of tune. So we'll see. Like, it may just be Web3, right? Like, they say AI, VR, NFTs, metaverse. Of course, crypto is banned in mainland China. So, we'll see. I think it'll have a major impact in terms of these companies and the technology. But other places, I'm still a bit skeptical.
Yeah. I can see that, right? So going back to that block to block scorecard that we mentioned, when it comes to the 7 factors that determines how vibrant an ecosystem will be for Web3, governmental initiatives or the regulatory environment are 2 of those, right? And with China, there in many ways, when it comes to like that expect, they're a bit ahead of the US and a bit behind. And what I mean by that is like in Beijing alone, they created their national blockchain technology innovation center, right? They recently did that within a year, and it has a designated goal of creating 500,000 experts within the country who know everything that there is to know about blockchain and Web3 innovations, right? I know in the US, Carnegie Mellon out in Pittsburgh, they've recently have like a Web3 component in terms of their educational studies, right? But when is something to be said about like actual governments who are like putting their money where their mouth is, right? Which is why what we were seeing in Miami was very interesting in terms of like their attitude towards being a crypto hub specifically, right?
Yeah.
Now, going back to China when it comes to this conversation, some ways they're okay. Yes, private cryptocurrencies are banned in terms of mainland China, right? Like you can't be out here trading like your bitcoins or whatever. But their CBDC, which is essentially Web3 technology in many ways, has over 260 million users, right? How many people within the US can we say are like active users within Web3? It's not the same, right? 260 million is like the 85% of our own population.
Yeah, that's very true. Jeez.
So it's very interesting. Like literally, the governmental initiatives and regulatory environment are like the only things holding the U.S. back when it comes to just being super dominant when it comes to Web3. Because if you have China, who is our number one competitor when it comes to who's the number one superpower in the world, who's that hegemon, they're out here making the moves in terms of setting up these institutions, having their most vibrant cities and hubs, create regulations and initiatives to like really prompt up Web3. Once again, Hong Kong is the third easiest place to do business in the world.
Yeah. Well,
Right? So
yeah, I feel that.
US has to step it up when it comes to the governmental aspect, right? We're still
Yeah,
in this weird gray area.
yeah. They need to make some moves for sure. At least make some decisions. Like it feels like everything is still in limbo, and it's this really weird gray area. That's not where anybody wants to be. Especially from a business standpoint. Um, it feels like it's almost locking away the innovation right now, right?
Mm.
Um, and maybe it got
You
it.
don't know what
Yeah, go ahead. What you said?
I was saying to your point about the innovation, if you don't know the parameters of what you can and can't do, how do you know which decisions to make when you're ideating?
Exactly. And if you're scared that like you're trying to do this really cool innovative thing, but that might have you end up in jail, and you're probably not going to do it, right? So,
Mhm.
um,
Or you may move over to Hong Kong because they're creating a hub to attract Web3
that's
startups.
true. That's true. Um, but what I was going to say about the Hong Kong piece is, I would still again makes me iffy about China and Hong Kong is that for those of you who don't know, Hong Kong used to be a British territory up until 1997, and very much it operated, you know, with in its own right for a very long time. If you kept up with the news cycles back in around 2015, 2016, there was a lot of protests because mainland China was starting to impose a lot more of its will on Hong Kong. And I believe it's 2040 when things will change for Hong Kong, where they will come under the mainland China umbrella of their policies and things like that. And so it's it's just really important to also think about too, right? If you're building a business, you're likely building it, to be something that's going to be here and around for 20 plus years. What happens in 2040, right? I think there's some uncertainty of how exactly, what does that look like? Oh, you can crypto is banned on mainland China, but you can invest in trade crypto in Hong Kong when Hong Kong, comes under China's umbrella, or if China just wakes up and the government is saying, hey, actually, we don't want this legalized in Hong Kong either. What do you do as a business, right? I mean, you have to get up and move, or but still, that's a tough situation to be in. So I think there's some things to just consider and be thoughtful about, even as we praise Hong Kong and praise Beijing for all that they're doing within the Web3 space.
Those political attitudes, political economy is the term.
Yep.
It shapes up everything.
Yep.
So yeah, very, very interesting segment in terms of just what's going on globally. It's very important that we have that global approach as we see how industry evolves. Because whether or not, even if you decide to relocate, just learning and seeing what's happening in different markets and taking their best practices and see how they may apply to your locality is a key aspect of business. So
Yeah.
great segment, great segment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I loved it. Appreciate you bringing us that story, giving us the inside look at the Beijing white paper. Excited to see where that goes.
Yeah. And part of doing your own research, make sure you guys take a peek at the white paper yourselves just to get more in depth insights as to what it is that it's looking to accomplish. But yeah, once again, another global episode. Don't worry, y'all. We're going to come back to the US. We're going to come back to the US
very soon.
And if you want to meet up with your boys in your local cities, hit us up in Cleveland on June the 16th at the Print Shop Showcase at Deep Roots Gallery. And if you're going to be in New Orleans for Essence Fest, make sure you slide through for the Simply New Orleans Miss Out the Frame experience. It's going to be a dope vibe. The situation in Cleveland's really a introduction to like Web3 and like art collecting as a whole, right? So it's like intentionally made to be more accessible for like your everyday people who are like interested in art collecting, but they feel like they need to have a huge bag in order to do it. Like you don't, like the work is like fairly priced, and more importantly, it's for the community. Now, the New Orleans experience, that's going to be an exquisite experience right there. So, definitely come through, support, show out, and enjoy yourselves.
Absolutely.
But with that, I am NFT and Jai.
And I am Web3 Wayne.
Peace.